This is the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we teach you the proven methods to grow your seven-figure business to 10 million and beyond. Please welcome your host, Brett Gilliland.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast. As you know, we bring guests every week who have been there, done that when it comes to scaling their businesses. This podcast is dedicated to those of you who are out there in that seven-figure journey. You've cracked that $1 million mark. You've got your eyes set on 10 million. You're like, I've got more in me. I got to be able to grow this thing. And you're bumping into some challenges. Hopefully, you're finding some inspiration and some great ideas here on this podcast. Every guest we bring has some great perspective on this journey, and today's guest is no exception. In fact, today's guest is a rare repeat guest. We haven't done that very much on this podcast, but if you look back at our very earliest episodes, you'll see the name Bill Harney, and I'm pleased to welcome Bill back to the show. Bill is a co-founder at Keeping Current Matters and at KCM, as they are usually referring it to as. At KCM, they provide critical information, critical market information to folks in the real estate industry who are trying to help buyers and sellers figure out what's going on in the market, help them make the best choices possible. So welcome to the show, Bill. Glad to have you back.
So great to be back, Brett. You know, this is one of my favorite things to be able to do is spend time with the community that you've built. I come from this community. I owe a lot of my success to the work that you've helped me accomplish in my life and my career and with my business. And talking to you and talking to folks that think like the both of us is one of my favorite things to do. So I appreciate being back. It's an honor.
It's fun. It's totally fun. And please correct me or add to what I did in my attempt to introduce KCM a little bit. Tell people exactly what it is so that we've got some good framing. It's context anyway for who you are.
Sure. I think you did a great job. To add a little bit of context, so we are a digital subscription service focused on the residential real estate market. Our job is to be able to help real estate professionals understand what's happening, why it's happening, and be able to re-communicate that back out to their clients, buyers and sellers, both sides, about what's most important going on in the market. And there's a lot more that goes into it, but at our core, that is what we do. We're based here in Richmond, Virginia. We've got just shy of 50 employees today. And it's been a long run to get to that point. But yeah, loving life and having fun.
Well, I'm thinking back to the time that I first heard the name Bill Harney, and when we first talked over a phone call, because Zoom wasn't really a thing. It was like 10 years ago. I believe it was 2014. I might have that wrong, but yeah, 10 years ago, you're in a much different spot. Your father actually had started the company, and you were just at the beginning stages of stepping in and wanting to do more with the company that Dad built and grow it into something amazing, which you have done. But you were fairly green as a CEO, as a leader, and trying to figure some things out. So fast forward 10 years later, your business is at a much bigger, better place. You're at a better place. You've grown, you've learned, you're so capable. It's just fun to see, looking back 10 years, the changes that have happened.
It's crazy to think that this is 10 years, but no, you're dead on. In March of 2014, I walked into my dad's office and told him that, hey, I think I have a bigger vision for this organization than you do, and I'd like you to let me be CEO. And took a long weekend to think about it. Came back in and says, "You're the CEO, don't screw it up." And I quickly realized I'm going to need some help, because you're right. Green is probably generous to give me at that stage of my career. But I think one of the keys to my success is being able to find really smart people who understand what I'm trying to get done and can help guide me along that path. You've been a mentor to me, Brett. Yourself, the elite community as a community has helped me. And it was, 2014 we started off, and it's been no looking back ever since. A better way of doing things.
Well, I certainly don't expect you to divulge whatever you're uncomfortable divulging, but could you at least give a sense for where your business was at in terms of revenue back then, and some idea of growth?
Yeah. And you know me, I'm an open book. to the chagrin of some of my business partners. But so we were probably, when we first started with Elite, it was probably about $1.5 million in revenue. I think we'd crossed over the million number. So I hit that checkbox on the qualification list. We're just over $1 million, probably close to $1.5 million. We are north of 10 times that today. On that journey, we probably had, I'll guess, 8 or 9 people then we keep kind of bumping up and down on that 50 number this last year. It's been a wild year in the real estate market, so it's been an interesting year for us. But keep bumping up and up on that 50 number right now. So it's been a wild journey. And I'm proud to say that through all of it, our focus on I'll talk about 2 things in my life, especially when I'm talking about here at KCM, is there's business and there's company. And those are 2 different things that most people in the business world will use interchangeably, but at KCM, they mean 2 different things. And, first, the business is all the stuff we know. This is KPIs and metrics and, revenue and profitability and, subscription revenue and CSAT and all the jargony business stuff that we all know and love and are critical to running a good business that you can scale. And then the company side of things is these are the human beings coming into the office every single day with their amazingness, their weirdness. I'm lucky that I get a lot of weird ones. The weirdness that makes them people, right? And figuring out how to put those people together to be able to create a greater thing. That's one of the funnest, most fun. We'll use funnest. We can go fun with this.
We can use whatever we want.
That is one of the most fun things that we've got to do these last 10 years is really focus in that area and allow that to translate into business success on this side of things.
Yeah. Well, before we get back into company building, and I love that distinction that you make, before we get into those conversations, let's keep our business minds on for just a second, because I'm sure that people listening caught you saying 10x growth in revenue in that 10 years and 5, maybe 6x growth on the headcount side, right? The expense side. So that's a nice profitable thing that has been created there, which is amazing. And so I just want to tip my hat at least to what you've accomplished, you and the team. I know you have not done that alone, and you would be the first to say, I built a company with amazing people who've done that, but it's a great accomplishment. So, all right. The first time we had you on, I know we talked quite a bit about company building. We talked about some of the keys to you growing, and I'm not going to test you. You don't have to remember what we talked about back then. But what I'd like to focus on a little bit more today has to do with this company building that you mentioned. And that distinction is important because, and I don't use that same thing, business versus company, but I love the way you think about it. I love the way you talk about it. And I know that KCM has in the past received some best small workplace awards in the United States, right? Best small workplaces in America. I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit and just to wow people, right? Because I like to impress people with what you've done. But how high up did you get on those top 25 lists? Because that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So Great Places to Work is one of the best organizations in the world when it comes to understanding what it takes to be a great place to work. Where trust comes in, where innovation comes in, where belonging comes in. They're one of the best. And so they run a certification every year for the last, I lost track. It's either 8 or 9 years we've been doing this. We've been certified as a great place to work. And just quickly what goes into that, that is not, you pay to get on the list. That is not, revenue numbers. Like they'll ask all those kind of questions just to understand where you go and which groups. But that is purely based on a survey of, when you're smaller, it's literally every single person in your organization. I think we're allowed to get away with out of 50, we can get 47. So it's the overwhelming majority.
At least 90%, right?
Yeah, well north of 90%. And it's an anonymous survey that we encourage all of our folks to answer completely honestly, because we get great information on the back end of that to understand, hey, where are we right now? What are the things we need to be working on? Where are we crushing it? Where are we falling down? So that we can make the changes that we need to make, mostly company-wise, right? Culturally or benefit-wise or empowerment-wise or leadership-wise, right? We have a lot of other metrics that'll measure and give us indications, early indicators around, hey, where's the business going? But this gives us a really good shot at where the company sits in that lexicon. But yes, we've been certified. It's either 8 or 9 years. I think we're in the middle of that survey right now. So I think this will be 9. Beth will know and she'll correct me when we get off of this. And we've made the top 50 list for small businesses in the US, which I think is 200 or less employees, I think is the group. We've made the top 50 4 times or 5 times in those 9 years. We've been as high as number 4 in the US, which was our high watermark that we're always trying to figure out, okay, 1, 2, or 3 or nothing right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thought I remembered number 4. So thank you for validating my memory there. But anyway, 4, top best small workplaces in America, number 4. That's pretty impressive. So that's what I want to spend our time on today. I want to talk about what are some of the intentional things you've done to create that workplace. Now, you just got done saying that asking your people is the starting point, right?
Oh, for sure.
People, what do you think? What's going on? Where can we improve? So you're doing that. You're checking in with your people. You're asking them questions about how they experience your workplace. But let's get beyond that even. Let's talk about some of the things that you intentionally did to build such a company, such a workplace, such a culture, because it's impressive what you've built. And I think you have a lot to share in that regard.
Sure. Yeah. I think it starts, and this is to anybody that's listened to your podcast or anybody who's been in this community for any length of time, I'm going to just repeat what they've already heard, right? It starts with purpose, values, mission. Right. That is the bedrock. That is the foundation, from which everything builds from. If you don't have clarity in those 3 arenas, if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, that's your purpose. Some folks call it your why. If you're a Simon Sinek fan, that's going to resonate, right? So like that is your why do you do things? How does your organization operate? That is your core values, right? That's an internal look that does not ever need to be public. I will tell you, it's great when they are, but it does not need to be. That is internally, how do you operate and how do you align as a group? And then your mission is, what are you trying to accomplish? Like if you can get clear on why do we exist? How do we work together as a team? What are we trying to accomplish? You can build a lot, but you have to get those things right. So it starts there. And we took, Brett, I want to say we took almost a full year to just get that right. Now we had drafts much earlier than that. Sure. Right. But fine tuning based on conversations and what felt sticky, what elicited the right reaction. We were constantly iterating on that until we felt like we have it, and if we've been doing this for 10 years now, so we had it for a year, it's changed just a smidge in the last 9 years. So the good news is when you nail it and you build everything towards that, you don't have to revisit it constantly, right? It becomes the bedrock, and then you layer operations on top of that. But it has to start there.
So at the core of your company, the culture side of your business, right? Mm-hmm. The people side, at the core of it is this purpose and values. And then you have this mission that provides the clarity on where we're going.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I know this is going to be extremely difficult to quantify. In fact, nigh to impossible. I've seen lots of great people try to do it. But is there any way that you could try to attribute some percentage, some impact to the 10x growth you've had to you doing this foundational work? In other words, without doing this work, another way to talk about it would be, how likely are you to have achieved the growth that you've achieved in the way that you've done it? I don't know. Can you put some causal relationship? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take the second version if I'm allowed to pick which version I want to answer.
Whatever version you want. Yeah.
Yeah. I for chances to go from where we were $1.5 million to call it 15, just for round numbers sake, that 10x type of growth, what were the odds if we didn't have this in place? Dismally small. We have a great product offering that fits the market and is a great offering. We're probably underpriced, so that probably helps too, right? But being able to scale that product, okay, that would have attributed to some of the success. But I think one of the biggest things that comes into this is we've really benefited from being able to not only attract really good talent to the team, but more importantly, retain that talent, right? Like as you're building your business, and this is easier when you're smaller, it's harder when you're larger. There's no doubt about that. But one of the biggest pain points that, as we've gotten bigger, we've felt a little bit more than we did when we were smaller, right? And I've definitely seen in some, clients that I've worked with and consulted with is when you have turnover, not only is it expensive from having to rehire that person, the downtime that you're going to have, the institutional knowledge of what that person knows and understands and can bring others, shepherd others along with them, right, goes out the door. And when you have incredibly low turnover, you don't pay any of those costs, which just allows momentum to continue to stack. You don't take those steps back in your growth. So could we have gone 10x a lot slower with a lot more road bumps and a lot more hiccups? Product's pretty good, maybe. Right? I'll give us a good, strong maybe. Right? But would we have been able to do it anywhere near as fast? Heck no. Right? I'm a New Yorker, so I want to use a different word there, but heck no. No, there's no doubt we would have been able to. There's no doubt we would have been much slower, if possibly been able to reach the same level of success. And that comes from alignment of a team. I can talk more about that, but.
Yeah, I know you could. So give us a sense for, you alluded to the fact that as you've gotten bigger, maybe retention's become a little bit more of a challenge. But for the first part of that journey from 8 or 9 people to 20 or 30, let's say, how often did you experience turnover or, lose people, attrition?
Yeah, attrition is a tricky thing, and listen, you never want to lose anybody, whether it's your decision or somebody else or their decision, right? That's never the goal, right? Everybody enters into a work relationship assuming everything is going to go exactly the way you want it to go, and that happens sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, right? And all challenges are leadership challenges, so I'll take the ownership of all the ones that we missed on. But I can think of.
Well, let me modify the question. Let's talk about regrettable turnover then. Okay.
And that's where I was going to go, right? I can think of 2 in our 10 years that I was like, that really, really stinks, because I had really high hopes they were doing well. And for both, it was an opportunity that they had to take. And I get it, but it really hurt. There are others where it's like, hey, we didn't do the best by them. They weren't living into the values on our side of things, and some hybrid of those two, across the board. So I'm not saying it was 0 beyond those two. It wasn't that. But from a regrettable one where I'm like, I take them back right now, right, in a heartbeat, 2 in 10 years. I'd say that's pretty darn good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we had 1 3 years ago, 1 this past year, right? So for 7 years, it was 0.
Yeah. 7 years of 0. And that's a huge difference. And again, it's hard to put the number to it, but when you're trying to grow and all the things you described, scale the product, make all those changes, to have a core team that stays together, that works well together, that gets along, that likes each other, that speed of trust thing that Covey talked about is real, super real. So
you can
not to mention,
it too.
Yeah, the crazy expensive cost of turnover, and you already alluded to that.
And then you start to see too, is as you have a group that stays together. Like, I'm a big baseball fan, right? So I grew up prior to KCM. I grew up in minor league baseball, so I watched a lot of teams win at the minor league level that then graduate to the major league level, and they win. The Atlanta Braves are a great example of that right now. That team, the core 4 or 5 of them. I was a Yankees fan. You're growing up, like that core 4. Won together as minor leaguers, grew up, and they knew how to win together. So when you have this consistency of these groups, the classes that come through, and I can think of there's 4 or 5 really special people that have been here for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? And they lead a lot of the organization right now, and they've continued to grow. And they all started as virtual, as like very junior employees in year 1 at KCM, and now they lead large areas of the organization for us. Right. Yeah. And that doesn't happen with that cohesion and their connection. Like, they meet once a week, maybe every other week right now, on their own, of their own, their own desire and their own impetus to figure out, hey, what are we doing well? Where can we be better leaders? How can we show up for our team? What challenges are you going through, and how can we help solve them? Like, that wasn't something dictated. That was, they got together saying like, hey, we can benefit from each other. We've all been here for a while. We know what good looks like. How do we help each other, right? You don't get that if you don't have that time, that speed of trust, as you so well said.
Very, very rare. Yeah. So, we talk about the ones and threes of revenue a lot in our elite community. So when you went from 1 to 3 million and then 3 to 10 million, those stage changes often require us to change out some of the people that helped us get to 1 million. They may be okay to help us get to 3 million. But what you just described said, no, they not only helped us get from 1 to 3 million, but they helped us get from 3 to 10 million, and they're still involved. What are some of the things you've done to enable their growth? They're continuing to grow with the company so that they can stick around and contribute in meaningful ways.
Yeah, I'll say I have 3 things that come to mind on that. I reserve the right to maybe there's a 4th that I haven't figured out yet. Now, I think 3 things. I think 1, intentional investment in people development from an early stage. It does not need to be expensive. Especially in today's world, there's a lot more expensive 10 years ago than it is today, right? But intentional investment in people development has paid huge dividends for us to be able to have this class that I was referencing, go through from junior employees when they first started off to senior leaders in the organization, trusted, and none of that group I'm talking about is on the official leadership team, but is absolutely the trusted group that, hey, when we have questions, we're going to them. I go to them before I go to my leadership team on certain issues, right? They've just seen more. They know more about what I'm thinking. So intentional people development, recognizing that I am a believer. I'm a believer in people. At my core, I believe in people and their greatness, and it's my job to unlock it at every level of what that needs to be. And I'm also very aware that sometimes a person's greatness is not climbing the corporate ladder. Right? So somebody who was leading part of our organization might not be leading that part of our organization today, and they're still here. Right? That is a difficult dance to nail. Right. But when you have a culture that is based on believing in people and wanting the best for them, and that shines through in a lot of different ways, I think you have a chance. I think that's been one of our great advantages is we've been able to hire executives above people who were leading an organization and having the strong conversation with them to help them understand this is, I think, the best thing for the organization. I think it's the best thing for you. And we're going to go prove that out. And, I want to say I don't think we've been perfect in that. But I also can't think of anything where we've taken a back step on that either. So I don't want to claim perfection because I'm sure I'm missing one, right? But we've had numerous examples of being able to do that well. And I think that all goes back to what I'll call culture, just as a big catch-all, right? Of how you lead people, how you make people feel, the environment. I think you said earlier, you built a business. And then you very quickly modified your team built the business, you built the team. I said, I think the biggest thing that I did is I built an environment, a space, and a set of operating rules for how we're going to operate, and then let the team go work within that space to achieve greatness. Right. And that's physical space and that's metaphysical space. Right. Yeah. Physical space is a big thing for us. We're all in office. In hybrid, you have to do things differently. That's not my bag, but know a lot of companies that do that great. But it's creating the physical and metaphysical space of safety and of trust and of how we're going to do things, and then let great people go do their thing. So is a huge piece. When you do that, you can see people continue to grow, but also recognize like, hey, my growth might not look like what it looks like in so many other organizations. I'm either up or out.
I talk to a lot of business owners, Bill, who all know the saying, we need to spend more time working on the business, not just in it. And I want to take the opportunity right now while people are listening to what you just said and have them connect the dots between developing people, creating this space where in your case, the KCM way can be developed and people can live in accordance with that way. They can live that way and go achieve goals together. That work that you did to create the space, to develop people, that is what working on the business looks like.
Yeah.
And you would say working on the company, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
We all get stuck in the business. And then for the relatively few who do break out of that and say, okay, I'm going to work on my business now. sometimes they don't know where to start. And you laid that out, I think, very well. You started with purpose, values, and mission, and then you created a space where the KCM way could develop, and you hired people into that space to go do great things. And all of that kind of work is what it looks like to work on the business. So I just wanted to call that out because I think you've done that extraordinarily well.
Thank you.
All right, where else should we go with this? Culture. People talk about that. They think about, break rooms and ping pong tables and smoothies and whatever else. And all those things are so fun, right? And of course we want all those things in our workplace, but I know you don't believe that's at the core of culture. You've already talked about purpose, values, mission at the core of culture, but how do you talk about some practical ways that you brought this KCM way to life? You talked about creating a space. There's a physical and a metaphysical. Maybe you want to comment on both, but how did you create this environment where people can come together in a special way and create great results?
Yeah, I think there's so much here. All right, so I think culture, as I would define it, if somebody asked me, Bill, what do you really think is culture? It's not going to be found in any textbook. It's the energy or lack thereof from a group of people towards common goals, practices, beliefs, achievements. It's the energy or lack thereof. Every organization has a culture. Some of them are intentional. In my experience in talking to friends who work places, many of them are unintentional.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the differences that we've done, and to people that I talk to, if I could give a piece of advice to anybody, it would be be really intentional about your culture. Figure out what you want it to be, and then act that way. Do things that manifest that belief that you have in whatever that looks like. If we are an in-person culture. We believe that when people get together, that has been part of the code of how humans have grown for eons. And if we are together, we are better. We can talk. Water cooler talk is a real thing. It's not just a nice to have. Those are where bonds and trust and connections get formed and where great ideas come from. Cool. That's my belief. That may not be true for everybody, right? But I want to recruit and I want to develop towards that belief structure. Then how do my actions follow that belief? Well, if I have that belief and my office looks like I'll take a shot, I've never been to the IRS, I can't imagine it looks fun, right? So if I have this belief and if I'm saying these words and my office does not reflect that, there's a disconnect where you're not getting the results that you're looking for, right? So we invest in a beautiful office. Now, we don't have ping pong tables. We do have a chessboard because that's one of our core values, to play chess, not checkers. So we do have a big life-size chessboard with life-size chess pieces we've all seen on vacation destinations. So we have that. That's our boardroom. So we do follow that up. And there are little games and that kind of stuff because we like to have fun. We don't take ourselves seriously. We take what we do very seriously. So we like to have fun. That is a part of our culture, but that's the manifestation of our beliefs, of our values. We have bright colors. We want people to have a lot of energy. We have a lot of light coming into the office. We want to create a space that folks feel real comfortable and energetic about coming to, knowing that, especially in this world, they have options, right? So we want to back up what our belief structure is, right? And then show people what that space is. So physical space for us is critically important, right? Okay.
Sorry, I was going to interrupt because
yeah.
You sort of gloss over this because of your belief system and your culture, but there's a lot of people who are fighting this pull towards more hybrid, more remote, more virtual, work from home situations. How are you competing for talent in a world where those are more and more the desires, the norms, but you're asking people to come work at an office still, right? Did I hear that right?
100%. Yeah. So we have whatever it is, 50 people, and every single one of them works from the office. We have zero.
I want you to talk. I know that, but I want you to talk about that because people are scratching their head right now. How is he doing that? What?
Yeah. So I think two things are true. I think one, the belief, if we let ourselves believe that every human being is the same and nobody wants to come to an office and everybody wants to be hybrid, we're just kidding ourselves. Yeah. Right. There's 8 point whatever billion people on this planet. Right. We're all different. Yeah. Not one of us is a carbon copy, identical. Even the most identical twins are not actually identical. They're still their own human being, right? So, we have to recognize that we're all different. If somebody wants to work hybrid or wants to work fully remote, that's one of our pre-screen questions for job applicants, right? If that's what you want, you're going to hate it here. Why would I make you go through this process? But what we've found, there's some people who really enjoy getting out of the house. There's some people who are like, I don't even know if we skew towards extroverts. I actually think we skew introvert on the Myers-Briggs scale, right? But we have people who just enjoy being around other people. And KCM provides an opportunity for that. So for those people that is an important aspect of their life, right now we're a phenomenal destination. Right? We couldn't ever look better because so many companies are going reduce footprint, reduce cost. Let's go hybrid. Hybrid is the future. Listen, I was just having a conversation with one of my key people on my team. Like there is an argument to be made that in the remote world, they care about their people more because they're giving them autonomy and how they want to go do that. I can't fight that. I think that's true. Right? But there are a segment of people who really want to be around other people. I'm one of them. I would lose myself. I would go crazy in a fully remote environment. The pandemic was not fun for me, right? Very happy to be back on that side of things. But there's a group out there that's important. Whatever you believe, I'm in office. I have friends that run amazing companies. It's how you manifest and how you live into that becomes important of, do you really believe that? If you're going to say, hey, remote's important to me, hybrid's important to me, and that's the direction that we want to go, you better have great connectivity tools.
Right.
Right? Like if you're still using, I'm trying to think of like what was before Slack, right? What was before Teams?
If you're still using Messenger way back.
Yeah, like some basic instant messenger. You're not on Zoom, right? You like, I think in today's world right now, I think most companies are starting to recognize like, hey, periodically we have to get our team together. You and your team do a great job of this, right? It's just like, hey, not every day, but on a cadence that makes sense for us, we have to get our team together because you do need to build those relationships. I think companies that invest in there, it's a lot cheaper than rent. My rent's way too expensive, right? But these are all trade-offs, and it comes from what are your beliefs and what do you value and where do you want to get your gains from? Yeah. For me, collaboration, creativity, and having teams that work together is more important than anything else, right? So I invest in that area.
Yeah. Well, thank you for going down that little side trip. I just knew that there'd be some people who would be thinking to themselves, wow, somebody's making a stand for in-office work. And it's not like you have a retail location. It's not like that. Like no. you have a product that could be distributed. It is distributed electronically over the web. You could do it in any number of ways. You could do it offshore. You could do it all contractors, but you choose to build an expensive team and pay expensive rent and have them all be in the office because that is the KCM way. And we can feel the strategic advantage that we get, from that, right? And we back that up, right? And then the other argument that I hear a lot from folks is like, well, then you're not getting the best talent to the organization. I'm like, one, who's governing what's the best talent? Because I'm sitting here, it's like, I got a great team. I'll take my team against pretty much any other team on the planet right now. And I'll take my team 10 out of 10. So that's in the case. And we've been able to recruit. Now, Richmond, Virginia is a great city. It's not in the top 10 of like most desirable cities to go to. I know we're not there, right? Like it's a great city, but it's not one of those. It's not Austin or, any of these crazy spots, right? But we get people all the time that move to Richmond to work at KCM. Yeah. I think that's a testament to what they see when they talk to our folks, when they do the interview, when they believe in what we believe in, both from a business standpoint of who we're for and the real estate professional, right? And the families that they serve, as well as who we are and what we believe about how work should be done. Yeah. That's fantastic. I knew this was going to happen. The time has evaporated and we could talk forever and ever. But I think that what you just described is so critical. I mean, best team, A players kind of stuff. Like how do you compare with others? But maybe you can't on performance very well, but you're not doing too shabby from a performance standpoint. And you're getting these great place to work certifications that are an indication that the best teams wouldn't put up with not being in a great place, right? The best teams flee bad workplaces. And so the fact that you've maintained that says you've built a home for great teams, great people, and you're investing in their development, and it pays off for them and it pays off for you. Okay. This was so much fun. Bill, as you think about, let's bring it back to some sort of summary level here. As you think back on your company building time at KCM and the role that culture has played and the role that really believing in your people and developing them has played in the success of your business, any parting thoughts for our listeners?
I think parting thoughts wise, I would say I'll come back to something I said earlier, and this is not advice that I just generally give, but I think it came up in this conversation. I think it's important is recognize that wherever you are in your company's journey, you have a culture. If you turn around and you close your eyes, and if it's what you imagine, you're doing a great job, right? If it's not, cool, right? Now you know where to go, right? And there's work to be done. Be intentional about how you're operating, be intentional with language, be intentional with space, physically or virtually, and invest in. Here's what I'll say, Brett. I'll sum this up this way. A friend of you and I, Tyler Norton, shared with me at one point, he said, show me your P&L and I will show you your strategy, right? And what he's communicating there, right, is that show me where your resources are going and I will show you what's important to you. Right. So if you're getting the results that you want and you look at your P&L and it's like, all right, that makes sense. Right. If you're not investing in areas and you're unhappy with where you're getting the results there, make a change. Right. You know, this is the age old question, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Right. And when you live that way, people respect authenticity. So.
Yeah. Very good, Bill. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I want to add to put your money where your mouth is. Put your money, put your time, put your energy, put your focus where your mouth is. And it's so hypocritical of us as business owners, as company builders, as leaders, when we say one thing, but all the other things going elsewhere. And that's a recipe for people who become disengaged, unplugged, unhappy when we're saying this and we're doing this and they got excited. They signed up for this, but then all your actions, all your money, all your time goes towards other things. And they feel that disconnect and they go, yeah, I can't live this way. I signed up for this, not that. Anyway, it's been so much fun. Thank you for coming back, my friend.
Always, my friend. Thank you so much for having me. Look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. So Bill, if people want to connect with you on social or learn more about KCM, how would they do that?
Yeah, sure. KCM is keepingcurrentmatters.com. If you're in the residential real estate business, love to hang out. If you're not, then that's probably not going to be a site that is going to mean anything to you. LinkedIn and Instagram, search for Bill Harney. I'm sure you're going to find me. I'm happy to chat anything, culture, company building, have a debate on in-person versus remote. I'll play either side you want me to on that one. These kind of conversations give me a lot of energy and happy to connect with people that think it's important.
Awesome. Okay. For all of you out there listening, please share, like, review, do all those things to help as many seven-figure business owners as possible hear this amazing episode with Bill. And keep listening. We love having you here. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Brett Gilliland. Be sure to leave a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. You may also want to visit our website, eliteentrepreneurspodcast.com, to find additional resources to grow your business from 7 figures to 10 million and beyond.